Hi, folks. Ryan Honeyman here from Lyft Economy. Many folks have come to us over the last 10 years and asked, how do I get more involved in creating an economy that works for the benefit of all life? They also ask, what skills and experiences do I need to help make this transition? So 3 years ago, we created something called the Next Economy MBA to help address this and similar questions. Lyft Economy's Next Economy MBA is an online course that's designed for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, students, recent graduates, employees, and folks who want to learn more about transformational next economy strategies and businesses. Join the growing alumni network of nearly 250 alumni who've gone through this program and learned essential skills and hopefully built lifelong relationships for catalyzing businesses in the emergent and regenerative economy. So we encourage you to check out our course. You can go to lyfteconomy.com/MBA. The next course, Cohort 7, starts on September 21st, 2021. So once again, go to www.lyfteconomy.com/MBA. And now, on with the show. Welcome to Next Economy Now. I'm Ryan Honeyman, a partner at Lyft Economy. Lyft is an impact consulting firm whose mission is to create, model, and share a locally self-reliant economy that works for the benefit of all life. The goal of this podcast is to highlight the leaders who are taking a regenerative, bioregional, democratic, transparent, and whole systems approach to using business as a force for good. My guests today are Alicia and Mari Kemp, co-founders of the Coco Noir wine shop and bar in Oakland, California. Alicia and Mari, welcome to the show.
Welcome. We're happy to be here.
Alicia, maybe we could start with you. Could you tell us a bit about your background and how you first got interested in the work that you're doing today?
Yes, I'll tell the short version. So my passion and love affair with wine started maybe 10 to 15 years ago as a consumer. Fast forward to about 2016, as a side hustle, I started just working for a more boutique winery as a wine sales ambassador. From there, I also partnered with another women-owned, minority-owned import company and became an ambassador. So I was selling part-time as a wine ambassador, working for Biopic, representing Biopic and Winemakers into the marketplace. So my love affair turned into wanting to explore this as a business. I did some apprenticeship as well as working. And then from there, just created a business called the Wine Noir, which is still in existence. And we focus on Biopic and women winemakers in the area of distribution, wholesale, importing and exporting, and consulting. And then which led me to partnering with wanting to have a retail wine shop and also to have partnership in this new venture with great friends. And from there, Mari can tell her story.
Definitely. So for me, I have been a wine enthusiast for years. I can think 25 years back, always being that consumer going to, different vineyards and wine producers and tasting different wines. And for me, it was a power shift to go from being a consumer to an owner and creator. And I'm excited to be able to bring something like this to our community, especially representing those who are underrepresented. I've been in the executive space for over 20 years and still in tech and running an organization now, but being able to have this passion as a part of something I'm doing for the community, for the people, and partnering with Alicia is something I'm super excited about.
That's amazing. And I love the multiple side hustles. Like, is the tech the side hustle or is this the... It's like...
Depends on the day, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I hear you. Tell me a little bit about, so how did the idea to actually create a physical location and start to tell me about the sort of genesis of how that came about. Maybe Alicia, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, so in my current business, the Wine Noir, I also I acquired brands, working with Winemakers, Biopic, and women brands, both internationally and locally, to also become their sales arm. So through attending a lot of events, partnering with corporations, and giving them wine experiences, and also partnering with people in the chef and event space, I amassed a Rolodex of a few thousand followers and subscribers. And locally, and a lot of them would say, when are you going to have a wine shop? We love these wines, and these wines are amazing. We would love a physical space. So from that, Mari knows this, our friendship is around wine. That's part of it. So we wanted a space that was inclusive, diverse to everyone, and that it just gave a different twist. So that's how Coco Noir was birthed, out of the demand from the community of Oakland, as well as our community from other states. Our virtual community, as California being one of the largest wine hubs. And so we wanted to make Oakland that stop before you go to Napa and Sonoma here in the Bay Area. So that's where it was birthed. And our community has supported thus far, and we'll talk about that later in the interview. So that's how it was founded on my end.
And I think from my perspective, when Alicia presented this opportunity, I'm a little bit I haven't talked about the other side hustle, but I love real estate and I'm an investor, and I love flipping and rehabbing and interior designing. And so the idea of wine plus real estate, interior design, space, all about that. So it was a natural win for me, and I love building and starting projects from beginning to end. So naturally, this all came together.
That's great in a founder. I like starting projects and then not finishing them. So I'm glad to hear that you got the follow through.
Yes.
And there's also I believe there's a new Black Arts and Business District, or is it new? Or can you talk about the district they're building in Oakland?
Yeah, so that district has been landmarked by former City Councilwoman Lynette McElhaney. I think it was landmarked in around 2015, 2016, and it's 14th and Webster, and we're adjacent on 13th and Webster. So we're adjacent, but we're considered, and there's Black-owned businesses in that community. The current city council who was just elected, what we plan, so there are African-American owned businesses, and downtown Oakland has become gentrified. But our motto is that we want to work with the other businesses in that area to revitalize it. So it is a landmarked area, the Black Arts Business Movement District. And there we are engaging with them, and you'll probably see more of that presence in 2021. But yeah, we're here to revitalize that community as well as partner with the existing businesses. There's art galleries, there is a social club, there's also other brick and mortar businesses in that area.
Thank you. And maybe, I don't know if either of you want to speak to the raising capital piece. So maybe how much are you trying to raise? I mentioned, I know that you're doing something on Wefunder, and maybe if you want to throw out the link and any promo, but yeah, just want to give folks some insight on the capital side.
Yeah, I think just to kind of start it, just to back up a little bit, just about the why of crowdfunding. Initially it was, we could do this project, but let's open this up to the community. Let's get partners involved, and at the same time creating investors. So crowdfunding, a lot of people aren't familiar with it. And so there's also been a nice educational opportunity for us in this process. But it's an opportunity to create investors in what we're doing, and we're doing a profit sharing model in doing so. And so we always have to bring up the differences between GoFundMe versus crowdfunding. GoFundMe, you never quite know where your money is going, whereas with crowdfunding, you actually know that you're an investor. You're now our partner. When we gain revenue, you grow revenue, and so or you gain profit. So it's a really nice circular process of being able to build an investor community around this project. And so you have that buy-in, those stakeholders always involved, which is something we're excited about. And it keeps our feet to the fire as well. But most importantly, right now we are raising 1.7 million. So far in the last 2.5 months, we've raised 72,000. So we're doing really well, and we're just continuing the momentum and appreciating the support we're getting from the community. And for those investors, there's tremendous perks. And if you go to our Wefunder page and look up Coco Noir, you will see all the perks listed on the side. And but essentially, it's 2 times the revenue, and it's something that we're excited to have new investors and partnerships in doing this project.
Alicia, you want to add anything to that, or?
Yeah, and Mari, she took everything what I was going to say, but even more in alignment with your organization, we do plan on becoming B Corp certified, but we're already, even before going through that process, we, from a wine perspective, we are given, we deem it I call it the new wine economy. So I'm taking a little bit of the new economy, but we're creating diversity and inclusion and social impact in 3 economies, which is the wine, the food, and the tech economy, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We're creating synergies, economic development with winemakers of color, Biopic. We're also exposing and giving upliftment, as well as upliftment to Biopic and women winemakers, to, say, a white wine audience that will never know that there is women producers, minority producers. So it's amazing on that end. And so I really love the diversity that it's including everyone in the industry and giving everyone the opportunity to have an equitable share in the billion-dollar wine industry.
And just for listeners, Biopic meaning Black, Indigenous, and other people of color?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I should have said that, yes.
It's all right. I've a lot of folks say BIPOC and then POC, but yeah, I think that's great for, I like Biopic better.
Or BIPOC.
Yeah. And then, so can you talk about how you thought about, the sort of like, there's a lot of businesses going virtual now, and you're going towards a physical location. Can you talk about the balance that you thought about? Like, how have you been thinking about the importance of a physical versus a online only business? I don't know if maybe Mari, you want to speak to that, or?
Sure. So online is part of what we do. So we have identified 6 streams of revenue for Coco Noir. The storefront essentially being that flagship location that everyone would go to, and the fact that we're located within a brand new apartment high-rise building downtown Oakland. We have the natural energy coming from the residents in that building and local businesses around. But again, we have 5 areas that we've identified we're going to be generating revenue. So right now, as we speak, even though our location is not there, or we do have it, sorry, we're finishing up the build out now. We are already doing virtual tastings for people and organizations. And so far that has been a hit, huge success going on there, as well as online wine sales as well. And the beauty of what we're doing is our online wine sales, they're not the types of wines you're going to find at Bevmo. They're different. They're with that culture, that underrepresentation. It's bringing forth things that you wouldn't find on the everyday, which differentiates us from any of the wine.coms, the Bevmos, etc., the vino.com and things like that. So with what we're doing, there's just multiple streams. And so not necessarily getting locked into just the storefront. The storefront location is definitely with the mentality of community, bringing people together. At some point, critically and psychologically, people still need social connection and human connection. We can only go so long, mental health perspective wise, in this very secluded state. So we do hope to be a place that brings that community, that culture, the arts, the wines all together in the actual space in Oakland, California.
Love it. And yeah, Alicia, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, and then also, as Oakland will be the flagship, we also have had interest in expanding to other states where it's very multicultural, very urban community airport. So we have a really great model, which is all on our Wefunder page. We also we will be launching a mobile app, which is in addition to our robust e-commerce site. Our mobile app will serve, it's going to be the epicenter for women and diverse winemakers and small local winemakers that they will have, that it's going to be an amazing. So we have B2B, B2C, mobile app, e-commerce, flagship store of Oakland. And we also, the great thing is we've attached an eatery to that location, and we're partnering with local chefs in the community. We have outdoor seating. So it's a win-win. And I think that, again, wine sales and beer sales are continuing to grow. And, with the hopes of what's going on in 2021, we hope to come out victorious and, and share this with the community.
Could I'm really interested if you could maybe help flesh out like one of these women of color winemakers, or give me a story about like one of the people you're really excited about that maybe the listeners wouldn't know about, like what's their story and like their wine and why you like it or something like that, if you wouldn't.
So locally, one that I can, and we're actually doing a wine event with her. We have weekly happy hours. Her name is Paula Harrell, and she is a local San Francisco Bay Area resident. P. Harrell Wines, and she's in several restaurants, but she's a small producer. She's known for her Zinfandel. She's an African-American woman winemaker, and she makes an amazing Zinfandel as well as a Riesling, and then she has a rosé. So she will be one of our makers that, again, we're giving our presence to. She's already established, but she's not known to many. And so giving her the same opportunity in our retail platform. So that's one. From an international perspective, I just came back from South Africa in March, right before COVID, the shutdowns. And prior, I had always had international brands in my portfolio, so Brazilian and South African. So Seven Sisters is one brand. It's a Black women's sisterhood collective. They own a vineyard, and they're vineyard producers. So we will be having their wines. They have two brands, Seven Sisters, and then their higher brand, which is the Brutus brand, which is their last name. And so we will have South African, which South African region is the 10th largest wine producing region. And there are over 100 Black South African wine producers starting. And so we'll have a few of those. We're also going to have some other brands. So those are two, Seven Sisters and P. Harrell, who's local. Different, but they need support. And so we're creating this South African to California roadmap and economy and social impact. And then from San Francisco to Oakland, which is right around the corner. But we're going to be the first type of business that's going to offer a retail platform, an e-commerce platform, and a mobile app platform for B2B and B2C. That's unheard of.
Mari, any other stories or anything else to add on that?
No, I mean, I think ever since we've sort of started this initiative, we have been tapping more into specifically women-owned and Black-owned vineyards. And I was already drinking Brown Estates, but I've fallen in love with the Zinfandel right here in the Bay Area, which is exciting. And there's a lot more. I know there's one that I've liked more recently. Alicia, you might remember the name, with the had like a little bit of brandy in it. I'm trying to remember the name off the bat. I think it's out of France. What is the name of it?
Pinot. It's Pinot de Charon. And so that's a smaller brand in France. We just also interviewed Phil Long, he's an African-American vineyard owner in Livermore. So he's the second largest winemaker for African-Americans in the United States. So that's another one that we'll have in our wine shop. And you'll see that on our social media platforms rolling out next week of the interview series that we have with him on Coco Noir Wine Shop on all of our social media channels.
Yeah, and I will say, just in light of launching and coming up with Coco Noir, the community is so strong, and there's so many out there that we never would have thought were there.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing that exposure even to us in this process, I think that's the most fun that we're having is trying the wines and being able to meet these producers and partner with them. We're talking to people in Detroit. We're talking to people all over the U.S. and, Georgia, meeting with some people actually today. There's just so many underrepresented groups that you would never think of looking at that wine list when you go to a restaurant. And it really takes your mind out. And so why diversity is so important is the question. And when you taste the wines, you taste the difference. Yes. So it is critically important.
And Mari, could you speak to the just giving listeners what does the industry look like? I mean, I imagine it's probably a bunch of white guys, it's just looking at like general wine industry. But what is like the state of Black ownership, or in the different areas? Is there like good representation on the winemaker side and the distributor side? Or I'm just kind of curious for the current state of ownership in the
yeah, I mean, there's not a lot out there, but it is definitely growing now. The exposure is happening. And I would even say during COVID, a lot of entrepreneurs and creators are coming out of this, which is even more exciting. But in the actual, if we just were to say Black owned specifically, it's not many, but they are increasing. And Alicia, I know you probably know the stats better than I do. But being able to the good thing about it, though, is that the exposure to these few, not many, Black-owned vineyards, they're really starting to get it. Like we were, again, as Alicia said, we were just with Phil Long at Longevity Wines in Livermore, and he's just busy. I mean, because everyone's like, what is this all about? We didn't even know. And now everyone is just flooding these producers and these owners heavily with looking to taste their wines, to be a part of them, to partner with them, to really bring them up, which is really exciting to see the arms of the wine community embracing these organizations as well.
Yes, and from the distribution, or I'll just say ownership side, as well as makers. So I see more winemakers coming out of this. So there are more African American and African and Black identifying makers coming out of it. But on the ownership side, it's slowly growing due to the point of entry, the cost. I'm licensed in the Wine Noir, and how the Wine Noir will play with Coco Noir is that my company will do a lot of the importing and distribution for our company. So I am licensed in all areas, and that's rare. It is a very expensive business. So I have to run my business in segments. And so from that end, I do see a small growth of women and diverse owners coming in. I do consulting. So I do consult up and coming and business owners or existing business owners in diversity, supplier diversity, as well as launching and growing your business and with winemakers. So I do see that growing. And so with that being said, I've learned a lot. And I think us being owners in the industry actually is putting a twist on things, because we now get to make the hiring decisions, the major decisions, and we approach our winemakers as partners. We work with their pricing. There's going to be a lot of things for that social impact and that the sustainability of the wines, of how we do business, is going to be in alignment with our mission.
And, maybe just thinking about COVID, for example, how have you seen that from the start to today? How has COVID affected how you think about your business or opportunities? Or I'm just kind of curious how COVID has affected what you do.
Yes. Well, I will say COVID definitely threw us all in a place of just ambiguity of not knowing what's next. But we are wonderful human beings, and we all have adapted. And I would say the opportunity has only increased because now we're able to do more virtual conversations, whereas prior there was more expectancy to do more, let's come to my vineyard and let's talk. Now we can do things via Zoom. It allows, and it actually really stepped up the exposure for virtual wine events. There's so many people who's like, what's a virtual wine event? What is, that curiosity has increased, and people are becoming more comfortable with video, especially with COVID, than the face-to-face. So it's allowed us to create so much more partnerships, conversations, and discussions from the our homes and our own Wi-Fi's. So it's been really nice. It's been a nice transition, but I will admit, I know for me, it was like, what in the world? How are we going to do the storefront?
Yeah.
And it makes so much sense, because why not? And we're starting to see, and just thinking about other entrepreneurs during this time, when there's that rose that comes out of the crack of the ground, I think there's a nice photo of that. That's exactly what's happening now. People are coming out. It's forcing people to think about multiple streams of income. It's forcing people to think about their passions and tapping in, because they're at home. They're in their homes. And so it's creating and forcing creativity. So we're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs coming out of COVID, which is really exciting. And so we have a lot of partners and people who we can talk to, who relate to our story. And so we're not alone in this as a result of COVID, and it's forcing us to build those connections.
And then we've also been able to raise capital during COVID. So that's number one. Even though traditionally 50% of African American businesses have been impacted and have closed, with that being said, we are one of those business models that's where the technology comes in. That's where we're going to have our e-commerce store. We're having our mobile app, where we can grow our audience even 10 times the normal foot traffic. We're also just adhering to, here in California, we've been very much adhering to a lot of the COVID standards. So we'll definitely take that into consideration. But also with our support, we have the mayor of Oakland that supported us. We're members of the Oakland African American Chamber, as well as the Oakland Metropolitan Chamber. So we have a big community following and investment, and we're going to ride this wave. So I think that we're pivoting in a sense of that our model could run if we needed to go into shutdown, and then we can open right back up, which I think that's unheard of with any other type of business that we in this industry. I've never heard of that. So.
And what have you been seeing with, with sort of the protests? I mean, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. How has that sort of impacted, maybe the visibility of what you do? I guess I'm afraid of like the sort of white folks who want to sort of make a token partnership, how is that like played out at all?
So actually our lead investor is Arno Hesse. So from Food Funded. Okay. So I've known him for some years through another friend of mine who he supported, but when I reconnected with Arnold when presenting this opportunity in the Food Funded and Slow Money family, he is one of our supporters that believed in us, mentored us, and so I think we're very lucky in that our white allies have been very supportive. And we are one thing about being born and raised in the Bay Area, we meet a lot of people that are already open. So of course, the Breonna Taylor and George Floyd has taken an impact on both of us, just really seeing that. But out of that, we've met a lot of people, and it shows in our campaign. Within the first 6 weeks, we've raised for a Black-owned company to raise close, a little bit under 100,000 in 6 weeks, is amazing. So I think that we've already had a wine economy, a Black or a diverse wine economy. I just think now everyone is catching on. And we're going to continue this momentum beyond. And the Black Lives, Black Business Matters movement is going to always be like not a trend. And I think with this new administration, there's going to be a lot of things that we're holding them accountable. So I think we're in a good position. And food, wine, and art and culture, I think, is a great way to start the conversations of race, to talk about those things, the social justice cost issues that impact us all.
And Mari, I'm not sure if you want to jump in at all, or.
No, I think Alicia definitely said it all. we're a human business, and we're highlighting what we represent as Black women, and I'm actually Black and Latina. It's all about culture and reminding people why diversity is important. And I think for us, this journey alone is just super empowering, just because this is, there is no footprint. We're creating this on our own, and the community has embraced us. And I know we don't look at white as evil, or it's actually a community, and we've seen love from all areas. And and I think that's one thing that is beautiful about when people rise to the level of understanding that we're all humans, and we're just highlighting who we represent and where we come from as women, as also Black and Latinas. So it's just a nice thing that we're just doing our part to put forth where we're from and what we represent. And to see the community of all colors come forward and embrace that is something that we deeply appreciate.
Thank you. One other question is, how does things like, wine critics and, how does that play into the sort of like how women of color get like surface and elevated in this space? Like what are some of the ways that there's either blocking or sort of assistance with folks? Yeah.
Well, I am so glad you asked that question, because our wine partners have wines that have been highly rated through Wine Spectator, Wine Enthusiast Magazine, Psalm Journal, the Napa Valley, San Francisco, Livermore, those publications and those governing bodies. So we're going to already have those diverse winemakers that have already been highly rated and well respected. But also part of the work that I do in my other business, as well as with Coco Noir, is that we have partnerships and allianceships with these organizations. So for example, we're part of the African American Vintners Association. And so we have a partnership with Wine Enthusiast Magazine, and we've been doing projects with them and working with them on a multitude of projects to help them diversify. Also, I'm just, working with different schools. There's a lot of programs out there with the wine schools to offer scholarships to incoming people of color and women that want to get into the industry as somms. And so that is changing how wine is rated. It's not going to be about the color or that negative mindset of because that person is not of color that they can't produce. No, it's going to show, no, this person is a wine maker. Their wine should be submitted for rating, and it should be judged as so. So we're not just a business that is providing wine. We're also working in this whole ecosystem of changing the landscape of how critics. So our community is going to be made up of diverse somms, diverse wine writers. We have friendships with a lot of people, not just in California, that know about us.
Are either of you sommelier, like the master sommeliers or anything like that?
Well, I'm in school right now for my WSET, and I have taken I attended San Francisco Wine School, and I started the Somm program, but I had to stop. But I have wine education. Mari and I are both going through the process. But so as we're owners, there's the business side, but then there's the service. So for us, we just need more of the business. But yes, I'm going through that. She's going through that. So we'll probably just go at a certain level. But yeah, we can do some blind tasting.
That's great. Yeah, I just saw the Netflix movie a few years ago and was really
yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
It's like this one was from the western part of France, and like I don't know. It's crazy how much they can know about a wine.
Exactly.
And what are you? How are you balancing the sort of? There's the Biopic sort of ownership piece, representation piece, and also like how are you thinking about the environmental, like if there's any organic wines or that sort of part of the business? Any thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. I'll jump in on the organic wine. I am super passionate, just how we eat. we buy organic, so naturally being able to offer organic wines is definitely top of my list, just because it's sustainable and it's conscious, and I know how it feels when I drink regular wine versus organic wine the next day, when there's a lot of pesticides. And so having that level of consciousness is definitely a piece that we will be bringing to the table, not saying everything will be organic. But it's interesting, we will have our own Coco Noir wine, and we're pretty excited about that. But learning things like isinglass is in the wine, that makes it inorganic or vegan, or some use egg whites as a coag, as a protein balance in their wines, is like, wow, this is deep. And being able to answer those questions to our consumers, to our buyers, to our partners, and being able to offer the differences, those who are vegan and want to come in and shop with us, having that level of awareness and sustainability and sensitivity. So we definitely want to make this available to everyone, and with a high level of consciousness around what we sell is definitely something that's important to us in our brand and our value.
And then also too, when it comes to sustainability, majority of our wines will say 90+% will be sustainable. Also, just a little bit of background in the wine industry. A lot of wine brands would like to be organic, but the cost to the grower is super expensive here in California, particularly. So they're not going to be certified organic, but they will be sustainable in how they pick the wines, before it gets to barreling. So it's very sustainable in that they don't use pesticides, the types of sugars they're using. So it's a lot that goes into the winemaking process, that yes, we will have certified vegan wines, but if they're not vegan, they will be sustainable. And most of your international wines that you've seen, a lot of them already have they even have more stricter, they're more strict than your California, but California has a lot of sustainable wines, and we will make sure. I will say this, the difference between vegan and non-vegan is that the life. So hopefully we will have those vegan and natural. You will probably pay a little bit more because the shelf life of those it goes, but we definitely want to represent all diverse audiences health-wise. And from an environmental standpoint, yes, sustainability is number one. Number two, we're also working directly with the winemaker, going to those farms, so we're working with women winemakers, women farmers, Black farmers. We're going to partner with the Mexican American Vintners Association, Black Farmers Association. So it goes beyond the environment as well as the economic part of it, because there's a whole supply chain, a whole life cycle. So definitely is our mission. So we plan to have about 150 in the store and maybe a little bit more online when it comes to our portfolio. But we're definitely giving sustainability as well as helping out underrepresented farming groups with our direct financial involvement of purchasing from them.
Maybe each of you can answer this question, but what are you most excited about right now? Is there a particular, I guess this would be personal or professional, but just Felicia, you want to maybe take it first and then?
Yeah, I'll just sum it up where I'm just excited because I think this is going to be one of the unique and first concepts that will allow, and that goes in line with inclusivity and diversity, having a space where you can just enjoy wine and not feel like you have to have wine etiquette, and just really giving culture back to the community of Oakland. And we're going to come out of COVID, and this is a great opportunity to open a business like this that is giving people community to be free and to have good libations, great food, great conversation. And then out of that may come some more entrepreneurs or more ideas and thoughts. So yes.
Yeah, for me, it's a fun journey. I thrive in being uncomfortable, to be honest with you. So being able to bring a wine organization or location storefront to a community that I'm pretty passionate about, born and raised native San Franciscan, but had been in Oakland for over 20 or so years. It's fun. The wine tasting, the moments of what in the world is going on, the moments of who are we going to partner with for this. All of those things are indications of the fact that I'm living. And being able to go through this journey is exciting, and being also completely open to share the journey with others so that they can do it too. There's a share point here as well that I really like to push and tell the story, not trying to keep it a secret. We want more entrepreneurs. We want more representation, and we have to start doing it by building and sharing the stories. So for me, it's fun. It's busy. I think it's probably the most work I've ever done, probably in the last 6 months, just with everything that I have going on. But there is a thrill and passion, and Alicia and I think as well, our friendship has gotten stronger because we have to trust each other in this process.
We're
And
married. We're married couple.
Yeah, we're pretty much married couples. We talk every day, if not a few times a day. Some days we get frustrated with each other. Some days we just love each other. It just really depends. But that journey it is what it is, and to be able to do it with a partner that you trust, and with someone who wants the same thing. And so when we have our down days, we pick each other up. It's great. It's a good passion and exercise to move towards. So it's a lot of fun, just the whole process in itself.
I love that. I definitely know the founder relationship can be make or break. So, just to hear that you all, and like, not that it's supposed to be all rainbows and unicorns like all the time, but to have that trust, that baseline connection and trust, that sounds amazing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I am curious, what are the top 2 to 3 sort of challenges, or what sort of keeps you up at night? Like, if we don't solve this, it's gonna be a problem. Like, I'm kind of curious, what are like the main things you're sort of thinking about or up against?
I think we're thinking about, of course, hitting our capital raise goal. Of course, we're self-funding this along the way. Again, we do think about COVID, we're always thinking about that. And just and I will say this is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity of, I think we know it's going to be successful, even if it doesn't, but also just this is both of our first ventures in this. We're both entrepreneurs. We have a lot of experience that will run a successful business, but just running this type of a business in the brick and mortar, just will we be successful? Like, those fears, that's on my end. What about you, Mari?
Yeah, I think the first thing that popped in my mind was just vendors and partnerships, making sure we partner and the people that work with us are the right people. Because we have our close knit, we trust each other, but when you open it up to subject matter experts, making sure they understand who we are, our brand, being able to drive it forward and speak to it how we do. And so even with people who are doing the construction on our building, all of those things, you have to rely on a nice, tight-knit community. So that sometimes keeps me up at night, making sure we have the right people, the right partners in place. COVID is just, the ambiguity of not knowing. Who would have thought, 7 months ago that we'd be in this situation, but we are. But at the end of the day, what keeps me alive is just knowing that humans will prevail, will adapt. And there's just fundamental needs that require us to be alive. And it's something that we're providing, a demand that I feel it will be needed over time anyway. And that place where people can get together and have that community. So, sometimes I go down that hole. There's that low vibration where I think about all the things I could be wrong. And then I have to sort of pick myself up and go on a higher vibration and think of all the things that can go right. So it's constantly fighting and building that ebb and flow and that balance.
Yeah, it's almost like 2020's wild as F. So why not? Let's just launch a business. Like,
Exactly.
In many ways, it's, I think it's like the perfect time to do what you're doing, because things are changing so much. So
Yeah.
What about maybe moving to like, what do you need right now? Because we often ask our guests, how can listeners support you? Obviously, Wefunder, but other ways, like, yeah, how would you answer that question?
I would say a few ways.
Yeah.
Market us, just share what we're doing, who we are, and how we're doing it. Know that this is a human business. We want community. We love the love that we're getting already, and we want to extend that across all racial territories, just to humans in itself. And because we want to take the opportunity to bring the culture of what we bring to the community, what we brought to this world in itself, and highlight it. And it doesn't necessarily exclude any one person, but it's something that speaks to us, our passions that we want to bring forward. So market, talk about us, become our business partners, invest in us. It doesn't take a lot to do it. I mean, you can start with $100 just to come in and just see and watch the journey, see the videos, join, or definitely leverage us for one of our virtual tastings. Or buy wine from our website. There's so many ways to do it. Or just set up a call with us and talk to us about our journey. Happy to do that. Happy to speak on any media platform and share the story, because we're learning. And if someone who's done this before wants to call us and say, hey, I think you should do this, we're all ears and open for it. So we're coming from a very humble, passionate place. And we know for a fact it's a people business. Every business is a people business. It's going to take us together collectively as a community to really launch this and be successful. So just get our name out there, talk about us, and also reach out to us. I think that's basic things we would love from people.
And Alicia, anything else?
She said it all.
She named a lot. That was good.
Yes. Well, and again, I think that, again, sharing, if you love wine and you want to support this new wine economy, we've made our investment super affordable. We have different tiers. There's perks. Our customers, we have over 130 supporters already, and it's growing. And so with that being said, we're making it, we're changing the industry. We're the first of color that I know that's actually doing this type of model, this social impact model in the industry of hospitality within the Bay Area. And we've had the most traction, and we won't be the last. So this is the first of many. We are a startup. We do hope to grow into other locations, and just, I just say share, learn more about us at coconoirwine.com, and go to Wefunder and type in Coco Noir Wine Shop and Bar. And and we partner with Wefunder. They're a major contributor. We kept it local. This is a local company platform. And we're excited to bring wine diversity into the landscape of a growing, wine is $1 billion industry, and it's continuously growing.
And any social media handles or anything you want to throw out?
Yes. So all of our social media is Coco Noir Wine Shop, Coco Noir Wine Shop, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook.
I love that. Don't have to change on each platform between them.
That's right.
And maybe one last thing is there a particular wine, maybe both that you're really feeling right now? Like, what is your favorite wine that you're selling, just so folks get a sense of, if they wanted to go online and get a wine from you, what would they,
Yes.
what would they look
so
for?
I like, I'm going to plug our wines that I have. Flow, it's called For the Love Of by Marcus Johnson. And it's a California produced wine. And Marcus is an African-American wine producer and jazz pianist, Grammy nominated, NAACP awardee. And he also has a Pandora channel. And basically it's a red blend of Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, very, very good, and some other blends in that. And then we also have a really good Chardonnay in that line. So it's called Flow For the Love Of. It's one of our brands.
And Yeah, what I'm drinking these days, actually, yesterday, McBride Sisters Black Girl Magic Riesling is yummy, 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 yummy. They have amazing options of different wines. They have their Rieslings, they have their whites, they have their rosés, just good stuff. So right now I'm there, and it's really good. Oh, I can't forget longevity wines.
Yes.
They have really good Zins, and they have a special. Brand. I think it was called the Journey, if I'm not mistaken. That is just delicious. So longevity and Livermore, right there in the Bay Area, definitely some good stuff. And we were drinking that actually just last week. So those are the two I would highly recommend.
Great. All right, folks. So listeners, you got to go check out Coco Noir Wine Shop and Bar on Wefunder and invest for as little as $100. And Coco Noir, let me just get the web, coconoirwine.com, and get some of the wines that you just heard. So Alicia and Mari, thank you so much for being on the show. And I really wish you success. I feel like you're going to be successful. You've got it. So just appreciate you and wish you lots of luck.
Yeah, we're excited. Thank you so much for this interview. And, also for those of you listening, get on our mailing list so you can just stay up to date on what we've got going on. But thank you so much for allowing us to be here and share our story.
Thank you.
Next Economy Now is a production of Lyft Economy. To listen to all of our past episodes, visit www.lyfteconomy.com. You can also subscribe to this podcast in iTunes, Overcast, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast. Once again, thanks for listening.